civil servants. If you want to say who loves civil servants the most, it is undoubtedly the county people. There are only two kinds of jobs in the county seat. One is to eat financially in peace, and the other is to work as an ordinary worker. Among the 1,301 counties in China, few are supported by pillar industries, and there are only a handful of diversified jobs available. Therefore, stable jobs such as civil servants, public institutions, state-owned enterprises, teachers, and bank staff have taken up the banner of retaining talents in the county. Although the county seat is small, it has all kinds of departments and bureaus, making the civil servants in the county seat the largest group of civil servants in the country, which confirms Sima Qian's famous saying that the county gathers the county, and the county gathers the world. Civil servants in county towns have even become stars-like existences. There are probably two types of people who return to the county seat to take the public examination. One is the crossing from the village to the county seat, the other is the hereditary title returning home. Within the system, the former is more likely to be seniority, the latter is an open and secret shortcut, operating through the network of relationships woven by the previous generation, and starting faster than those without background. In short, in the arena of the county seat, which pays attention to relationships and human feelings, relationships determine success or failure. The rules, abilities, talents, etc. that are common in Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, and Shenzhen are all behind here. Elite families in the county will try their best to let their children eat financially. 1. After working for 1 year, he was seconded to the county government. In the summer vacation of Chen Zhen's junior year, at one late night, his father suddenly had a long talk with him, and asked him very solemnly about his thoughts on work. What kind of career do you want to pursue, and where do you want to settle down? If you go back to the age of 18, Chen Zhen fantasizes about developing in a big city. But after studying abroad for 3 years at university, he was very determined to return to his hometown. If you stay in the county, your house and car can be settled at any time, but if you go to a super first-tier city to develop, just the house will empty the pockets of your parents. The most important thing is that staying in his hometown and his parents reaching out can help him pave his career path for the rest of his life and save him a few years of qualifications compared to others. The occupations of Chen Zhen's parents are at the top of the county's occupational disdain chain. After decades of work, they can do things smoothly in the county with a simple greeting. Chen Zhen's family lives in a local villa-rich area. The villa group brings together elite families in the county, including cotters from various units, monopoly businessmen in the county, and entrepreneurs from other places. In short, to integrate into the city's elite, housing prices are the ticket. Chen Zhen's university and major are not excellent. He is studying financial management in the second lowest college in the province. If you enter an enterprise, you can only be in ordinary finance, and the promotion path is relatively narrow. His father suggested that he take the county and township civil servant test. There are more than 20 places for township civil servants in his hometown every year. The degree of difficulty for Chen Zhen to pass the exam is small, and his family can help him in his future career. I don't have much talent when it comes to studying in prestigious schools. I didn't like studying when I was a child, and my grades have always been bad. I'm just a child from other people who was used as a negative teaching material. But influenced by my parents since I was a child, I am good at dealing with all kinds of human relationships. Chen Zhen felt that the system was a very good home, and a confident smile spread across his face. In the county civil servant system, the departments with the fastest promotion include the County Party Committee Office, the County Government Office, and the Organization Department, and then the Township Civil Servants. For ordinary Township Civil Servants, the promotion channel is Township Civil Servant, Township Deputy Department, Deputy Mayor, Township Party Committee Member, Deputy Secretary, Town Mayor, Secretary, County Bureau Chief, Retirement. But in fact, after becoming a Deputy Mayor, you go through seniority. The Mayor is already the top of the pyramid for most Township Civil Servants, and even a small number of them transfer to higher county-level units. The holiday food distributed by civil servants, photo provided by Chen Zhen. Chen Zhen is a minority. From the time he was admitted to the township, he was ready to advance to the county level. After working for a year, he and his family proposed the idea of secondment. With the connection between his parents, he was successfully seconded to the county government. The colleagues who entered the unit in the same batch are still stationed in the original unit. Chen Zhen has been working in the county government for 2 years now. Chen Zhen, who has been in the system for almost 3 years, is gradually showing signs of the system. The hairstyle has changed from the previous tinfoil perm to the current big back, the outfit has changed from the previous high street style to the current Chinese tunic suit, and the briefcase is always on the body. The conversation has also changed from the previous campus gossip to the current national event. Chen Zhen's friends in the county elite circle all made the same choice after college as he did. The parents of these friends are doctors, teachers, or party members and codders in the system. They are all at the top of the professional contempt chain in small counties, and even pensions are higher than the wages of young people. Most of their next generation graduated from ordinary colleges, but they all tacitly choose to graduate and go home, and they can comfortably end iron rice bowls in banks, public institutions, schools, and local state-owned enterprises. But on the other hand, those students who have no roots in the county, some are far away from the county, and have changed jobs 3 to 4 times but have not found a satisfactory job, opening an excavator in the county town. If it is a coincidence, you can also run into a project that Chen Zhen is in charge of. After several years of hard work and with the support of his family, Chen Zhen's future is foreseeable and bright. In small counties, the transmission chain of going to school, work, marriage, having children is extremely fast, and the next thing to consider is marriage. For Chen Zhen and his group, the favorite thing to do at home is blind date. The circle in the county is very small. When I didn't have a date before, uncles and aunts from various units came to my house to pay New Year's greetings during the New Year and holidays. Some people always wanted to introduce me to a partner. Chen Zhen said that he added a lot of WeChat at that time. For some people, apart from blind dates arranged at home within the system, it is difficult for them to have a way to solve their personal problems. And Chen Zhen has a good family background, loves to play basketball, can play the guitar, and is a favorite in the blind date market. Not long after the job was confirmed, his parents organized a dinner for him and the daughter of a local bureau chief. With the help of my parents, we have been together for almost 3 years now. The parents of both parties are very satisfied with each other. As the age grows, the frequency of parents' marriage gradually increases. 2. In the future, please trouble the leaders to take care of the newcomers. Joji is the only daughter in the family. When she applied for the college entrance examination in 2016, her family limited the scope of university to the province, and instilled in her the concept that she should work in the province in the future. It is the best choice to go home to the county seat. Joji graduated from university in 2020. In order to be eligible to buy a house in the province, she worked as an e-commerce operator for the largest beauty company in the province for 2 years and paid Social Security for 2 years. The company has good resources and can often contact top anchors. In her own opinion, this is a glamorous job. It's just that because she often has to work overtime until the early hours of the morning, in the eyes of her parents, it is an unstable hard work. Her parents brainwashed her to be superior in the system all the time. Joji remembers that in order to let her go home, what her parents often said to her was, 9 to 5 is good. If you want to buy a house, we will help you buy it. There will be no financial pressure. Come back and live a small life by yourself. Ken. Therefore, after getting the qualifications to buy a house, I immediately left the job, worked hard to review for a period of time, and then went ashore as a township civil servant in the county. Countdown to Joji's provincial examination, photo courtesy of Joji. The county seat is small in size and has a small population, belonging to a society of acquaintances. Even if there is no directly corresponding unit leader in the family, through the relationship of acquaintances, the juniors who enter the system can be more comfortable. Joji's family network is huge, and there are many relationships such as a certain uncle is in a certain office, and another uncle is in a certain bureau. In short, in this case, it is the default that the predecessors pave the way, and the descendants enjoy the shade. Although township civil servants are the most coveted profession in everyone's eyes, there are actually differences between high and low. The conditions of each town in the county are very different, and the promotion space and office environment are not even the slightest bit poorer. Some office environments are no different from those in the county seat, while others require an hour's drive from the county seat to the unit. Joji's parents and her relatives in the system naturally would not let her go to a backward town to be wronged. This battle started after Joji received the news of landing. Before Joji could react, her parents had prepared gifts and good wine, and brought relatives who were worthy in the system, and held several dinners to invite the leaders of the unit to eat together. At the dinner table, Joji clumsily held a glass of tea, followed her father in circles and laughed, repeating over and over again, "I will trouble the leaders to take care of you more in the future." Sincerity and relationship are the panacea for handling affairs in the county. With the double management in place, Joji finally got what she wanted. In the county town, civil servants are the indicators of face. Even though Joji is only a township civil servant, in the eyes of Joji and the people in Joji's hometown, this is a symbol of power and stability. People in their hometown began to seek Joji to maintain their relationship, hoping that Joji would help him more in the future. When others ask about Joji's work, Joji's parents will proudly say that their daughter is a civil servant. The township civil servants are assigned posts according to the needs after the unit reports, and 5 of them join the unit in the same batch as Joji. Although Joji's position is a relatively hard job, it has a bright future. I often get the care of the leaders in the unit, and I belong to the first echelon candidates of opportunities. The leader often arranges Joji to participate in the training, which means that the leader has the intention to focus on training Joji. The development paths of many body second generations in the county are similar. Let children enter the institutional environment first, and first solve the problem of whether there is any. However, because the working environment of township civil servants is relatively poor, they are not as decent as county civil servants, so they have become the preferred choice of many second generation. On the road to promotion later, in families with relationship support, parents will use their acquaintances and social relationships to help their children try their best to solve the problem of good or bad. The same is true of Joji's path. In the process of work, every time I talk to my family about the bitterness of the unit, there is often a word of encouragement at home: "You should work hard in the past few years, and after the service period expires, you will find a way to help you transfer to a better unit." Because the county seat cannot provide diversified and richer employment positions, in addition to financial support, there are highly educated workers in the county seat, and there are very few highly educated workers in other fields. Therefore, even if they work in different towns, Joji's circle of friends overlaps with Chen Zhen's. 3. Hereditary financial meal. Circulating within the county. If you look in the county, you will most likely find the same position, but the situation in the first and second tier cities and the county is completely different. In the government compound in the big city, 985/211 graduate students are immersed in writing materials. Looking at the county town, ordinary staff often carry the label of so-and-so leading the children. The glass rooms of banks in Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, and Shenzhen are filled with many financial returnees from Britain, the United States and Australia. Ordinary tellers in small cities may be relationship accounts that their parents spent 6 figures on. The county town is a society woven with a network of relationships. The most important thing in the county town is the relationship. The relationship with the highest certainty is hereditary. In the county, the children of system parents are still in the system, the children of medical parents are also in the hospital, and the children of business parents are also in the business field, forming a relatively stable occupational internal cycle. Forward-looking parents of county elites start to plan their children's city and major choices from the moment their children fill out their volunteers in the college entrance examination. Education is a stepping stone, no need to compete for distance and ranking. The ordinary second copy in the province and the 211 outside the province, the former is often their first intervention. The layout is near the child's graduation. Parents will let their children inherit their mantle through their own contacts and circles, and provide full support for their children in their subsequent development. Feng Junkai, PhD in Sociology at Peking University, worked in Xinyi County, Henan Province for 2 years while studying. During this period, the doctoral dissertation Zhongxian Cotters was completed through visits and investigations. In the article, the unspoken rules of operation in the county are summarized: age is a treasure, ability is used as a reference, and relationship is the most important. Relationships mainly include blood relatives, relatives by marriage, relatives by God, fellow villagers, colleagues, classmates, comrades in arms, and so on. Except for blood relatives, which are natural bonds and the strongest bonds, all others are social bonds that need to be woven and maintained. The way it works includes drinking, playing cards, and giving gifts. Drinking is the most important way to weave a network. The wine market is not only a bridge for relationship building, but also a place for gossip, information, and a lubricant for doing things. After a few glasses of wine, from unfamiliar to familiar, and even began to call each other cautiously, the people in the game are our own. After drinking to your heart's content, playing cards is essential. Whether you win or not in poker depends on skill and luck. Whether the leader wins or not depends mainly on whether the soldiers are willing to lose money. And during the holidays, cotters who want to have a good relationship with the leaders are always on the way to find the leaders. Dr. Fen Junkai also summarized part of the county-city relationship network in his thesis. Through various ways of operating relationships, they form political families large and small, which can also provide certain help to younger generations when they are employed. Excerpts from the original text of Zhongxian Cotter's example relationship network. If the children of cotters want to work in big cities, the most important way is to receive higher education and form an educational advantage. And if the education is average, wandering alone in a big city is not the best choice for many cotters and families. At this time, people with connections and roots will do everything possible to return to the county, and once again consolidate the foundation of the political family. A list of the education of the children of county leaders in Zhongxian Cotters. The operation of the network of relations in the county makes the occupations in the county a relatively static social form. 4. Epilogue. As long as the positioning is returned to the county, the second generation of county elites will be one step ahead of ordinary town youths. Especially in counties where relationships are emphasized, the transmission and exchange of core information has gradually become static and solidified. Small political families obtain information faster and link resources more quickly to form interventions, becoming an invisible professional barrier in the county. Young people in small towns do not have a certain relationship background. Even 985 graduate students can hardly make a living in a small county without nepotism. Even, the salary return will not be higher than that of undergraduate students. Therefore, many highly educated students who have no roots will not choose to return to the county seat. They often create their own value in a relatively fair city. From a certain point of view, it's not that they don't want to go back to their hometown and stay with their parents, it's that the county doesn't have enough diversified jobs, and the county cannot enjoy fairness within the system. The former hometown has also become a place that cannot be returned because of higher and higher barriers. Who doesn't love to entertain? In today's world, especially after a hectic week, everyone needs a party night to decompress and prepare for the week ahead. Similarly, people in ancient times also liked to dance and drink. They may not enjoy it the way we do, but there's no denying that their parties, too, were taken to the extremes of the time. The Greek world is of great significance in human history. Their way of life and inventions are the subject of research to this day. It's pretty obvious to us that the ancient Greeks loved to party. In the ancient Greek world, parties were more than entertainment for them. Large wine gatherings, considered seminars, are part of their culture. The ancient Greeks thought about wine differently than people do in the world today. The Greeks associated alcohol with their gods. Drinking alcohol is considered sacred. For the Greeks, getting drunk and losing their minds was a gift from the gods. While the main purpose is to enjoy, these Greek gatherings are not unusual. Because there are some rituals and rules that must be followed. Photography, T-Selen Erkin on Unsplash. Here's what an ancient Greek party really looked like. 1. Special drinking places. In ancient Greek, there were places called taverns, dedicated to drinking alcohol. Anyone can walk up to these taverns and drink. These locations are for those who cannot afford to party at their own place. A tavern is a place where ordinary people drink. But rich people have parties and wine gatherings at their homes. They sometimes book the tavern and then allow everyone to drink and eat for free. Because when the rich get together, they get too crazy. And in the tavern, when they get drunk, they don't get carried away. If I wrote this article last year, it is estimated that many people would scold me. But it is different now. Everyone has already seen the benefits brought about by the decline of Russia. According to the announcement of the General Administration of Customs, in a few days, Vladivostok, the former land of China, and now the port of Vladivostok, Russia, will officially become China's domestic trade goods transfer station. This means that the 3 eastern provinces, especially Jilin and Heilongjiang, have finally got rid of the situation of being besieged inland and once again have their own outlets to the sea. In the era of globalized trade, It goes without saying that the right to sea is as important to a region as it is to a man whether he has a car or not. And this car was unimaginable in the past. Russia's possessiveness in terms of territory and its defensiveness against China are 100 times more cautious than the old king next door. The China-Kyrgyz-Uzbekistan railway project before this was an important transportation line connecting China to Central Asia and Europe. But such an economic and people's livelihood project that has nothing to do with Russia's territory has been stuck for more than 20 years. As early as 1997, on the eve of China's accession to the WTO, China established cooperation memoranda with Kyrgyzstan and Uzbekistan. But after more than 20 years, this project is still on paper, and the working groups of all parties have repeatedly studied, discussed, surveyed, and designed. The three countries also agreed that it was necessary, but it was too late start work. Until May 30th last year, when Russia was mired in the Ukrainian war for more than 2 months, Kyrgyz President Zaporov suddenly announced that since Russia no longer opposed it, the China-Kyrgyzstan-Ukraine railway will officially start construction next year. In this way, the filthy thing about Russia's obstruction of economic cooperation projects between China and Central Asian countries for more than 20 years was announced to the world. Many people may be surprised, thinking that Russia is a strategic ally. How can it curb China's development? This kind of thinking is undoubtedly naive. Chechnya must be an ally of Russia, right? But the two countries fought twice before becoming allies, killing hundreds of thousands of people in Chechnya. Strategic allies are also different from value allies, which are highly compatible value systems and partners who advance and retreat together. The former is often based on tactics and strategies, a relationship of mutual use to achieve a certain purpose. It is inevitable for the two sides to coerce secretly and guard against each other. I have compared Russia to Sparta in ancient Greece before. It has a strategic ally named Poland, who also happens to be the second largest economy in the Greek world. Then, although they were allies on the surface, they secretly competed secretly and dug holes for each other. Because their alliance was first based on a kind of coercion by force, Sparta extended its sphere of influence to the entire Peloponnese Peninsula through military force. Then, in the name of allies, the surrounding neighbors became their own vassal states, requiring them to pay taxes, and stationed military personnel to intervene in their internal affairs. During the war, all allies had to send troops to accept the command of Sparta. This is very similar to the contemporary Russian world, including this Russo-Ukrainian war, which has been interpreted by many people as Russia using the war to consume the military reserves of the member countries. The vast majority of soldiers killed in battle were concentrated in the Caucasus, Mongolia, and the region at the junction of Asia and Europe. Only a very small part of the Russian nation was actually killed. In particular, Moscow and St. Petersburg were almost unscathed. This is probably why Putin shouted that Russia had no losses in this war. As for vassal states like Chechnya and Belarus who are unwilling to be cannon fodder or put on airs, suspicions have spread that their leaders were poisoned. For example, Kadyrov in Chechnya was exposed to serious kidney problems and went all the way to the chief expert in the United Arab Emirates for treatment. In the end, his life was saved, but his body suddenly burst into fat in a short period of time. Then some time ago, the Russian Victory Day military parade, attended by Belarusian President Lukashenko, was also rumored to return home in a hurry and entered a hospital in the capital. Then he disappeared for 6 days, and when he reappeared, he was unsteady in walking and his hands were wrapped in bandages. Therefore, an alliance does not mean anything, especially an alliance with various contributions is fragile and hypocritical. Poland was yin and yang to Sparta. It secretly helped Athens in the early days and prevented Sparta from cultivating agents in Athens. When Athens was strong enough to stand against Sparta, it instigated conflicts between the two sides and instigated war in every possible way. In the end, the two poles of the Greek world collided, and a war broke out between the land farming civilization headed by Sparta and the maritime trade civilization headed by Athens. There was a handshake in the middle of the deal, because both parties were exhausted. Especially Sparta, from more than 8,000 citizens at its peak, dropped sharply to less than 3,000. In order to prevent Sparta from recuperating, Poland continued to fan the flames, prompting the two sides to continue fighting. In the end, the number of citizens of Sparta was consumed step by step to more than 800, leading to an inevitable collapse. As a result, Poland was able to get rid of Sparta's control and gained an independent development path. The same is true of the Central Asian plate today. Once Russia is weak, the surrounding countries can breathe out. According to data from the Ministry of Commerce, trade between China and the 5 Central Asian countries increased by 22% in the first quarter of this year, and there were 1,600 trains to Europe via the China-Kyrgyzstan-Ukraine railway. This is also the best route from China to Europe, shortening the cargo mileage by 900 kilometers and saving time by 7 to 8 days. In the context of decoupling, this means that Chinese manufacturing has captured more and prevented supply chains from collapsing. But you can't do that without the decline of Russia. In the past, Russia has always regarded Central Asia as its own back garden, and China is absolutely not allowed to get involved, even if it is a purely economic project. Because he doesn't want you to be too powerful, and it's not that Putin wants to let go now, but that he is powerless, and almost all resources are used to deal with the Ukrainian black hole. Today's Vladivostok port is also very important to China. In the past, the 3 eastern provinces had access to the sea. During the Japanese occupation period, the puppet Manchukuo established its trade fulcrum at the mouth of the Tumen River. Its economic volume was once the largest in Asia, even surpassing Japan. Therefore, the poor conditions in the northeast are man-made, not congenital. Shortly after Japan surrendered, Russia made another trick, taking advantage of the Peninsula War to build a bridge across the Tumen River across Russia and Kyiv. Moreover, the bottom of the bridge was built so low that large tonnage cargo ships could not navigate at all, and the only outlet to the sea was blocked in this way. Now in Fengchuan, Hanchun, the easternmost part of Jilin province, there is a scenic spot called Longhu Pavilion, where you can see the sea level at a glance, but it is just out of reach. After the reform and opening up, China also discussed this issue with Russia. At that time, the Russia-North Korea bridge was built because of the Peninsula War and the need to transport supplies. Now the war is over long ago, and the bridges are all set up for decoration. Can you make it easier for me? But it failed several times, and it was not until this time that Russia was in trouble due to the war and the industrial system collapsed due to international sanctions that it had to turn to China for help, and finally agreed to open the right to use the port of Vladivostok. Also limited to domestic trade. In fact, there is another incident that is not well known this month, which is the confrontation between China and Vietnam in Huan An Beach in the South China Sea. Of course, it is for oil resources. Vietnam has grown from a country lacking in oil and gas to become the largest oil exporter in Southeast Asia, all of which are mined from the South China Sea. Part of the territory of Huan An Beach is within China's 9-dash line, which is a disputed territory, which means that China also has a share in the oil. In the 1990s, China cooperated with American companies to exploit oil in the South China Sea. However, due to fierce resistance from the Vietnamese side and the unwillingness of the United States to intervene in territorial disputes, it was finally abandoned. Unexpectedly, Vietnam turned around and found Russia, and cooperated with Rosneft to set up a drilling platform in the disputed territory of Huan An Beach, stealing Chinese resources for more than 20 years. The Vietnamese are very smart. Russia ignores international rules and is also China's nemesis. By drawing Russia into the fold, they win with one move. But on the 12th of this month, Russia suddenly announced that it would withdraw from the oil field it cooperated with Vietnam in the South China Sea, and spit out the meat that was in its mouth again. This led to another confrontation between China and Vietnam in Huan An Beach. Obviously, the geo-environment in East Asia is undergoing changes, and the positions of China and Russia have been cleverly swapped. This change has become difficult to hide. Even the European media ridiculed that Russia is becoming a vassal of China. However, Russia will definitely not be willing to lag behind. It needs to be clear that Russia's decline this time is not only a defeat on the battlefield, but more importantly, it is the sanctions of the international community. Once the war is over, there is almost no suspense for Russia to return to the international system, then the seemingly clumsy but mighty polar bear will inevitably reshape its influence in Asia. You can see that he chose to open the port of Vladivostok to China on Children's Day, which shows his inner calculation and aggrieved. Received a letter from a reader. At the beginning of the year, the girl's grandmother passed away. Then, her mother broke off diplomatic relations with her 2 uncles. The 2 sons were sent to Canada, and he was alone in a nursing home for the elderly. Essay painting poked at the center with a word. The following article comes from Mr. Wang Er. Click on the small card below. At the beginning of the year, the girl's grandmother passed away. Then, her mother broke off diplomatic relations with her two uncles. The girl's grandparents favored boys over girls back then, and devoted themselves to nurturing their two sons. Now one has become the leader of the unit, and the other is doing business. Both are busy people. And the girl's mother, the most promising, married an honest farmer, and spent half her life on an acre of land. But even so, when the two old people reached their old age, they were weak and sick. Speaking of going home often, the two sons kept repeating the two sentences, too busy at work and too far away. Only the daughter, who was once the most unpopular, had to visit the elderly every now and then. Especially when the old mother was infected with the new crown years ago, her daughter was anxious like an ant on a hot pot, rushing to take care of her. But the two sons didn't pay much attention to it, thinking that the disease came and went quickly. The results of it? Because the old man delayed the treatment time, the underlying disease broke out, and his life would always stay before the spring festival. The girl's mother had a difficult heart, and she could never forgive the two elder brothers for ignoring the old man's health. The two uncles felt that the younger sister was making a big fuss and making trouble out of nothing. The three brothers and sisters who were originally harmonious fell to freezing point in the blink of an eye. The girl felt wronged by her mother and issued a series of questions. The grandparents raised the two uncles to be more promising than the other, but why can they fade away with peace of mind in their old age? Is it true that the more excellent a child is, the farther his heart is from his parents? Grandparents have always favored sons over daughters since they were young, but their daughter has become their last support, because she is the good-for-nothing child. Is it easy to bully? 02. The Chinese pay attention to, filial piety is the first thing to do, and it is not about deeds. After all, he is not the person involved, so he will not judge the filial errors of the girl's two uncles. But girls' confusion, we can discuss one or two together. Regarding the relationship between promising children and their parents, S.A. Veining said two small things. That year, he was still studying at Peking University. My mother came to Beijing on a business trip and made an appointment to meet him. But turning around, he put the matter behind him, because his time was scheduled to be full that day. After class, I have to go to the choir to rehearse, and then go to the drama club to participate in activities. It wasn't until 8 or 9 in the evening that he remembered that his mother was still waiting for him. When he hurried to the guest house opposite the school, he found that the electricity had been cut off that night. My mother sat alone in a simple room, silently eating instant noodles by the dim light of the candles. Seeing this scene, S.A. Veining suddenly burst into tears. At that moment he finally understood what is called low and ashamed of the Son of Man, dare not sigh the wind and dust. The second thing is that there is a famous saying of S.A. Veining circulating on the internet, I regret bringing my parents by my side. In fact, there is a more heart-wrenching confession behind this. After graduating from university, S.A. Veining entered CCTV, and he was quickly reused due to his talent. In addition to serving as the host of Today's Statement, he often appears in many programs as a guest host, and frequently appears at various evening parties. At that time, S.A. Veining felt that she had the ability to bring her parents to take care of her. But the fact is that the reunion between him and his parents did not become more as expected. Years later, he all sighed. I think parents want their children to be outstanding and successful, but your brilliance must not be what they want most. Their greatest expectation for you is peace and joy. As the old saying goes, if you don't travel far away with your parents, you must travel well. In modern society, such a traditional family structure has been repeatedly broken. There was a very popular video recently. An old man who used to be a senior engineer. He raised two excellent sons, who are now in Canada. But in his later years, the old man stayed alone in the nursing home. Even if he was sick, he could only ask his nephew to take him to the hospital. All the children who go out, it is difficult to come back. This is cruel, but it is reality. 03. Let's talk about the second question. Every parent, even brothers and sisters, should thank the promising child. My friend Xiaomei told me her story. Because of her distant marriage, it is rare for Xiaomei to go back to see her parents once. One young year, she looked back at her parents' daily life through the surveillance at home, and found that her father fell from the ladder while cleaning the windowsill a few days ago. The couple kept this matter from their 4 brothers and sisters. Although Xiaomei immediately called her mother to confirm that her father's injury was not serious, she immediately told her elder sister in her hometown to help her go home and have a look. When talking here, Xiaomei subconsciously paused, feeling very emotional. She can't remember how many times she has troubled the elder sister like this. And the elder sister doesn't know how much trouble the family has endured silently. Because there are many brothers and sisters in the family, the eldest sister dropped out of school early to work in a winery in order to allow her brother and two younger sisters to continue their studies. Later, because my brothers and sisters were all studying and working in other places, I simply found a well-matched family near my home to marry. Now that the brothers and sisters have passed their 30s, she still has to bear the burden of taking care of their parents for everyone. Xiaomei said that the eldest sister should be most grateful to their family in this life. Although she hasn't even finished junior high school, although her job is not decent enough, although she is not seeing the big world like her brothers and sisters. But the happiness of her parents in their later years and the success of her siblings today are all because she made herself a stepping stone. In the world, the youngest son Joe Binkin, played by Lei Ji-yin, has a line that hits the heart. They were all born by my parents. I am the only one who is worthless. Do you know how uncomfortable I am? Indeed, Joe Binkin, who can only work as a worker after graduating from junior high school, is not as good as his older brothers and sisters who have been admitted to prestigious universities, and cannot give their parents good face. But in the end, after the elder brother and sister became prosperous, they were away all the year round. Only his unpopular youngest son, after his wife had a stroke and became a vegetative state, stayed by his side carefully and massaged with his wife for 2 years before saving her life. You see, that seemingly incompetent child is sometimes the backbone of a family. 04. Under the video of senior engineer living alone in a nursing home, there are many embarrassing messages. His mother fell and was hospitalized, and an old professor stayed in the same ward. The old professor is good at talking and often talks about things like his children earning a lot of money abroad. One day he stopped mentioning it suddenly. At first he was puzzled, but later he found out from his mother. It turned out that she only said one sentence: I have only one son, I have no ability to do some coolies, and I have to take care of my 2 grandsons every day. His 2 neighbors, a family with very good grades, stayed abroad after receiving a scholarship to study abroad. Everyone praises it, but it's rare to see it once a year. Another child only went to technical school. Later, after working for a few years, I went back to my hometown and opened a small shop. I talked and laughed with my parents every day. There is also an old man, one of his sons and daughters has Down syndrome. Some people think that he gave birth to a stupid son, but this child can cook for him, wash him up, take him to the doctor and go to the market on 3 wheels. No amount of good sons and daughters can do this. In fact, saying so much is not to divide children into good and bad. After all, who doesn't want his son to become a dragon? Here, the ear just wants to recognize the truth with everyone. In this world, outstanding children are a minority after all, and most children can only be mediocre throughout their lives. Regardless of promising or not, the child who spends his time with his parents deserves their kindness and respect. End. Author, Wang Er. I don't know astronomy at the top, and geography at the bottom, but I know a little bit of life in the middle. Pay attention to Mr. Wang Er, ID, Huanj Sishiba, a middle-aged boy who can't help but roar when he sees an uneven road. More mind-blowing articles. Please click to follow the business card below.